Well, if you've ever wanted a demonstration on how good the 8K video recording is on the Galaxy S20... actually, it's not real 8K.
Yeah, I know.
Here you go. In the marketing material of the Galaxy S20, something that was very heavily featured by Samsung was the 8K video recording, and everybody, when it was first announced, just went ooh and ah, and then everyone said, hang on a second, that can't quite be right. Well, it is. This is being recorded in 8K right now, and I've been using it for the past couple of weeks, and I've got a few things to say about it. But before we start, I just wanted to let everyone know that every single shot in this video is unaltered straight out the camera. There has been no post-processing done to any of these. I wanted this to be as authentic as possible. So, first of all, the actual image quality, which I would give a fairly good rating. I wouldn't say it's awful, but I wouldn't say it's like spectacular either. It's a very, very nice, acceptable middle ground, which for a phone like this is kind of, well, good. Images are definitely very, very clear and very sharp if you are in good conditions. If you are not in good conditions, for example, you do get a lot of image noise that does come through, and especially in low light situations and even night shooting, which is pretty much a no-go, to be honest. Well, at least from the testing that I've done. Something else that works very well is the zoom function. This actually surprised me. I did not expect this to work as well as it did, but this particular clip that I've got up here is 3x zoom, which is about the limit of what you can do. The camera does go all the way up to 6x zoom, but again, a lot more of the noise comes through and the image quality is quite poor after that. Now, when you switch to 8K, you're also switching to 24 FPS, which when I first heard about it, I thought it was an odd choice, but you do get used to it fairly quickly. So it's not too big of a deal. But there are some negatives with this particular camera and this particular setup. The main one for me at least is the schizophrenic autofocus. Now, I do know that in the professional world, autofocus is not really a thing because you have a dedicated person to do that. But in the consumer world and even in the prosumer world, having good autofocus is sort of a necessity. But this doesn't have it, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan of how poor the autofocus is with this. You can manually lock the focus onto a particular subject. This will definitely get you a very clean shot, and they won't have any focus, bouncing back and forth between a subject. I do think this is a bit of an issue, and honestly, for a flagship device, I don't think that's good enough, to be honest. A very simple way to remedy this will be to use the Pro mode and use the video in there, but you can't use 8K in the Pro mode. You can only go up to, I think it's 4K 30 on the Pro mode, which I'm going to be honest is a shame. Also, something to bear in mind when you're dealing with 8K is that you are dealing with file sizes to match as well. I mean, yeah, seriously, filming in 8K on this thing is no joke. I've been seeing approximately 600 megabytes a minute, which is, in the consumer world, that is enormous. But in the professional world, that's, well, nothing. Also, whilst you're in 8K, you can't record in HDR. That is a function that tops out in the 4K 30 option, which is arguably a more relevant feature. However, one big benefit of shooting in 8K is that you can super sample. And that is, if I were to continue using the 8K, that is what I would be doing. I would be using the 8K video and then downsampling it down to 4K for arguably better picture quality and also slightly less file size and easier use to work with as well. What Samsung calls the 8K snap feature, where you just basically pull a still out of an 8K video, that is very handy to have, especially at just the touch of a button where you can just pull one frame off the video that you just filmed and then have that as a still image. It's very intuitive and easy to use at just the touch of a button. But enough chit chat, I've said what I wanted to say, all the positives, the negatives, and now I want you to enjoy some gorgeous 8K B-roll.